Hey, what is up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my slightly delayed review of the new Morbius film. So, what did I think of this movie? I kind of wish I had recorded this the day I saw it because it was April 1st, and I would have told you how wonderful this film is, how amazing it was, the greatest film I've seen for a while, and then I would have happy April Fool's you. So, but anyway, this is very well delayed, so that's a bad joke, but I wanted to include it regardless. Anyway, this movie is it's not good. It's so I did see it twice because I wanted to get a full because when I first saw it, it was really late at night. I was tired, a little bit burned out, so I was more inclined to shut off my brain. And the first time I saw it, I thought it was better, for sure. And I still didn't see any reviews, so I saw it a little bit later, and I was just like, wow, this is way worse than I thought it was. Wow. Little bit of sleep and actually turning my brain on, like, oh my god. Like, the characters were bad, the acting was bad, the writing was bad, the CGI was bad. I mean, there was music. I remember there being music. I don't remember it. It just the whole thing seemed fairly generic. For some weird reason, everything was blue. There's seemed to be a blue filter over everything, and I mean, I guess that's stylistic, but it didn't quite work. It seemed fairly generic and bad. The CGI was mind-numbingly awful. Uh, like the pro. So I'm not a big fan of CGI. If you've seen my reviews, you know this by now. Um, I do believe it has a place in movies. I do believe that. There's some parts where even like CGI just has to be done, but it can also be overdone. And this one was way overdone. Like you, anytime after gets after he turns into the vampire whatever thing creature, he just always seems to have this layer of CGI and on him especially when they know he's going to change, and it just seems really off. Like sometimes the lip sync isn't as great as it should be. Um, it gives him this weird sort of, I don't know, sheen that just doesn't look natural. And that could also just be the blue filter as well. That it was just over everything in this movie. It was, I mean, the effects weren't great. Uh, I didn't really care about the characters because, I mean, you don't really have any time. The pacing of this movie is just all over the place. Like when you think you have a handle on where things are going. Well, never mind. Okay, so it's very generic in terms of where it's going. So I mean, every trope in the book is used. Uh, from him and his best friend's bond, to his romantic interest and how that resolves itself. And it seemed really bizarre, but the pacing, like you don't get the time with his friend or his mentor for that fact to like actually establish, his relationship with him. Everything is kind of, just told to you and it happens off screen, and then you're just left to sort of assume that something happened. And that's not good writing. any good writer will tell you you want to show things. You do not want to tell things. You do not want to use exposition. And you definitely don't want to leave your audience assuming as much as I think they had to assume throughout this movie because oh my god. Yeah, there's a lot. Literally, it is so hard for me to find a good part of this movie. There is one, and it's Matt Smith. Like that's it. You know him and his just like off the walls sort of. Ugh, it wants to sneeze, but it's okay. It went away. I may be getting a little bit stuffy in my nose. Anyway, but yeah, Matt Smith, his is just crazy antics, his over the top, behavior. It's super fun. It and it should be funnier, but the problem is again you don't have context with this character because all this stuff happens and it's just like what's happening? You don't get the friendship between him. It's just like, you know, saves his life, whatever. And then, your typical tropey thing. You have stereotypical like that are everything's over the top. And it kind of has like for what they're trying to do, I kind of get why they did it that way because again, they're trying to show a lot of time passing with minimal showing, with as much showing as possible, but it just doesn't work in my opinion. It falls flat, and you don't get the dynamic that you would otherwise feel with with sort of a best friendship, or even again with his mentor or his romantic interest. The story is very half baked. Uh, I mean, ooh, I mean to say the least. I mean, they're just choices that they make in this film where you're just like, wait, what? Why is this happening? What is going on? And again, that goes down to pacing as well as bad writing, and just I don't know, like considering that this is a Sony sort of Spider-Man Spider-Verse that they're trying to do, it's just like, ugh, why? Get rid of it. And no, they're never going to get rid of it. It's making too much money. Ninth, it's essentially the ninth highest grossing film of 2022 so far, with a 146.4 million to a budget of 75 to 83 million. So, I mean, if you include advertising costs, that probably is about break even. It may be a little short, but I mean, in the course of this movie, it'll probably make its money back. And in spite of all the negative reviews, which, once I saw them and uh, went to go put this together, I was just like, it makes sense. It makes freaking sense. Oh my gosh. So, and bad writing and pacing issues kind of makes sense when you look at the writings of these. So you have a Matt Sazama and a Burt Sharpless. Uh, so what are they known as for? The Gods of Egypt. Uh, yeah, that was a terrible movie unto itself. Let's see, Dracula Untold. It was also not a great movie, and I do believe I did a review on this years ago, and I did not like it. Largely of Yeah, I was not a fan. And then let's see what else. The Last Witch Hunter, which I mean, are like arguably is probably the best of the three, but still not very good. uh, so yeah, they contributed to the Power Rangers reboot. Like I don't know. I don't know. What were they thinking? I mean, all of their stories pretty much bombed. None of those movies really achieved too much success. Uh, so I have no idea, and you can kind of tell with this movie. And the problem also comes in the fact that this is a universe which, I mean, I get it. It can exist because, especially now that the multiverse has been established, and they kind of do a tie-in with the post-credit scenes. They do it really like kind of badly, but yeah. So like I'm gonna bring one of the stingers out because it was already essentially spoiled in one of the trailers. So this is not technically a spoiler if you watch trailers. So they brought ugh, they brought Adrian Toomes. So essentially the Vulture. He he got brought into this, and I'll get into more of the stingers, in spoilers. But yeah, uh, I think they're trying to create a banding up, like Sinister Six, I believe. Is it Sinister Seven? It's six or seven, but whatever. But yeah, that like I mean that's how it's going. That's how they're trying to do it, and it's just like Sony is just gr- milking the Spider-Man license, and it is taking essentially like every side character that you could think of, and it's making a movie of it. And the problem is some of these characters like there's not too much of a story, or they're just really bad. They're just really bad. I mean, to be honest, I absolutely enjoyed Venom and Venom 2, but I didn't give them very high ratings. I believe I gave them both sixes, because they had a lot of issues and some really bad writing. That seems to be the curse of any Sony Pictures uh, movie. Just But at the same time, they were entertaining. They were fun and this one was if you it was written by like it feels like it was written by for dumb people essentially, because when I was just like mentally drained and just didn't want to actually think about things, this movie scored a lot higher than what my score is going to be. um and yeah, like actually seeing it with some rest and actually my actual reviewer eyes, and it's just like this is so bad. This is way worse than the Venom series. Like I would rather watch that. Like the the universe again, the universe that they're having, it's so sad. Like it's worse than DC at this point, especially with this movie. And DC has some really bad movies. Like I am not the biggest fan of DC movies. There were a few though that I did love. Aquaman was one. The original Wonder Woman was another. Um, but there were some real stinkers. Uh, so yeah, I don't know what their plan is for this, but I mean, apparently they have future projects in the works, so they're going to keep going on this, and that's really sad. What else can I say? This. Oh my gosh, the fight scenes. It was they weren't good. Like the CG again, you're having two CGI characters fight against each other, and for some weird reason they have to like slow mo it every time they go against each other, and it's super awkward. There's especially in the final fight, like you're confused at everything because things are in your face. You don't really get a like perception on where you are, where they are, what's going on, and there's just a lot of ridiculousness to it. Like for all the crap I'm talking about this movie, literally the strongest point was Matt Smith, and one of my favorite ones is Matt Smith's like crazy ass dancing. When he first transforms and he's dancing, and then he kills a bunch of cops, and he just dances some more. He's just all giddy, and it's yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I mean, I believe I covered pretty much everything I need to about this movie, roughly, in non-spoiler sense. Um, so what am I giving this? I'm This is a three. This is a flat three. It's not good. I was not engaged. I mean, the first time I kind of was, but again, if you are completely able to just shut off your brain, then this movie I probably would have given it a five because there were still a lot of problems with it. Like I thoroughly enjoyed the fight scenes in the Venom movies. Even though Venom versus Riot was really bad, it was really bad. Like again, two trash bags fighting each other. It looks super awkward and super bad. I thought that was as low as we can go, but nope. The final battle of this one, whoo! We dove we dove into that hole and proceeded to go even deeper. Sony somehow managed to do a worse fight sequence than Venom versus Riot, and that's sad. So anyway, yeah, 3 out of 10. Uh, don't spend your money on this. That's what I'm gonna say. Don't spend your money. Wait till it comes out on streaming, and even then, you're not missing much. I mean, you're having a tie-in to essentially a universe that it isn't really Marvel. It's not Disney's Marvel. It's Sony's, and it's not as good. The writing is bad. Yeah, this universe is terrible, and it shouldn't exist. uh, yeah. So anyway, I think that's that for non-spoilers. So I will catch you in the non-spoilers section. So I will see you there. Hey guys, it is Rapmark here with the spoiler section of the Morbius film, the terrible, terrible film it was. So, how are we starting in here? So, we are in a hospital in Greece. Why is everyone speaking English? I don't know. Because it's cheap and why not? So anyway, so Michael Morbius, he meets Lucian, who he renames Milo, and they're in a sort of yeah, this care hospital for like I guess chronic conditions and conditions that are going to kill you before your time. some sort of blood illness, and then they bond over a thing to be normal. Like he dies, the machine sort of fail, or like he doesn't die, but he's going to die because the machine fails him, and then he does something with like a spring and a penny, and it's just like it's. I mean, I get it, but it's tropey as hell. It's tropey as hell, and then oh my gosh, so yeah, that's not even how it starts. It starts with him going into Costa Rica with a sort of like bat trap type thing, and he gets a lot of bats, and I mean already the inconsistencies start because first of all, like he's portrayed throughout a lot of this movie as someone who doesn't want to hurt people, or kill people. He cares about kids. He doesn't care about credit. He and here he's just like he goes into a bat, catches some bats. He tells the crew of the helicopter to take off, but it's just like it doesn't explain. Like they come out only at night, so he stands there with a cut hand, and they're all attracted to the blood and flying around. Bats are all around this helicopter. It's just like, what do you do? Why are you needlessly endangering these people? And then how does he get back? Once that helicopter leaves, because they're just terrified. They don't want to go back. They don't want to be there. And yeah, that's the first issue of bad writing. So then you have, their childhood. He is their sort of mentor, whatever. Nicholas, the director Nicholas, he goes to attend a medical school because he sees his genius, and then focuses on caring for Milo. And then it skips ahead for years. I mean, it goes back again, and Milo, oh my gosh, the over the top bullies. It's just like, yeah, people can be cruel. Like I had my share of bullying when I was in school, because I have autism, and so I get bullying, but man, this was like over the top, and just terrible writing, and it tries to establish Lucien, or Milo, whatever. I'll call him whatever, both, whatever. I don't care. But it tries to establish him as he is someone who doesn't care for people, I guess. But I mean, he seems like a decent person when you meet him when he's grown up. He wants to be normal. He doesn't seem as selfless as say Morbius does. But I mean, he doesn't seem like a terrible person. And yeah, anyway, it's crazy. So 25 years later, after it shows all that, he declines the Nobel Peace Prize, but apparently he insulted royalty by doing it. Like it doesn't really go. So much stuff is done off screen, and something like that. That's like a nitpick. I get that, but there are some major things that are done off screen that's just like, how did this happen? And again, the first scene I pointed about. Again, how did he get back? The people in the copter didn't want to be there. How the hell was he going to guarantee that they were going to come back? Like, I don't know. Apparently they did because he's back. He's good. So I don't know. Anyway, so he lets him know of Milo and Nicholas of his illegal experiment where he is going to inject himself. But first he injects a rat, which he thinks dies, and it's like tests. He says like 200 something. I don't remember off the top of my head. It could have been like 40 something, but it could have been like 200 something. Anyway, but yeah, the rat dies. He's just like, it's a failure. And then a little later, after they're done talking, his romantic interest, his colleague, Martine, um, notices that the rat has come back. So yes, that is where he discovers that it worked, at least in rats. He's going to do a human trial on himself. Um, so yeah, he tells Milo, he tells Nicholas about it, and yeah, and that's where we go into the boat scene, and it's God, it's so ridiculous. So he's in there, stuff's going on. He injects himself. He's goes into a coma. He's locked into a hold, and that's where the head of security comes in and is just a total dick. Like, again, just so bad writing. The whole goal is you are supposed to hate this character so that Morbius can kill him, and it's stupid because these two are the people who are paying you. Like, why are you don't be a dick to your client. That's customer service 101. Whether or not you're a mercenary or whatnot, unless you're planning on double crossing them, you know, and believe it or not, that is actually like pretty rare amongst at least bigger professional units of, say, mercenaries. Uh, you know, they usually are good for their contract because otherwise they'd lose business because that's the whole concept of a mercenary outfit. Unless you're being paid a massive more sum to do it. And even then you have to get, your higher ups involved at that point. But anyway, yeah, just terrible writing. And then the crew comes in, they try to hunt him down. He hunts all them down, and the bad CGI was just in full effect. Everything is blue, so it's kind of dark, but it doesn't seem like the horror elements they tried to incorporate into this. It's just like, oh, come on, let's get to it. It just made me impatient. Like, I didn't think they did the horror or the action much justice in this movie, to be honest. It was a little sad and choppy, and the blue did not help. So anyway, he kills them all, leaves her there, like, and then calls the police to go find it. It's just like, I mean, that just makes her suspect number one, but whatever. And then he jumps off, leaves. He goes back into the lab. He discovers he has strength, speed, reflexes, echolocation, and then so they have like this blue blood. It's artificial blood, which he takes, and it gives him incredible strength and power. But it only lasts for about, I think it's like 6 hours, he said at first. And then I don't know if it's like it starts to wane off or at that point it's like it's off and then his body is sort of going into withdrawals, or his blood condition is taking it back over. I'm not sure. It doesn't really explain it. Just that it lasts 6 hours, and then he goes to see how long he can go without the blood, and he just starts to deteriorate. And his friend Lucian, he comes into the lab. That's where he finds it, and that's where you see two other vials of the quote unquote cure to it. And then after he gets him his blue blood, the synthetic blood, it The problem is it's less effective over time. So I mean, eventually you get to the point where one will only last like 4.5 hours. He hasn't tried any real actual blood um, beyond the boat scene. So, but I mean, aside from a few other times in the movie, that is rarely even tra- traipsed upon. It is just like a side plot that exists and then it is thrown away, especially at the end, which I'll get to in a bit. But anyway, you get the whole thing of like he's just like, give me the cure. He's just like, no, this is a curse. And then he's just like, so what am I supposed to do? Just die then? And it's just like, leave. And tells him to leave. And again, the CGI was just so bad. Oh, it was annoying. But somehow, Milo he gets hold of one of the vials, you know, and then injects himself. This is all off screen, by the way, and then a nurse, gets brutally murdered. And then suddenly he goes into this, like again, at worst you get maybe he's a little more of a selfish person. He's obviously someone of means. I don't know how much of it is from his their sort of mentor slash father figure, Dr. Nicholas. But I mean, he's maybe a little selfish is as best I can go, but he goes from that to like just full on villain. And I mean, if they had carried it to the ultimate pinnacle, it might have worked. I mean, it still would have been bad. It still would have been bad writing. It still would have been a bad character. But I would have had more respect for it for being ridiculous and actually being aware of its ridiculousness and running with it. But man, like again, Matt Smith had some of the best scenes in this movie, and a lot of those scenes would have been like in most other movies are the worst scenes of the movies. But I mean, he had fun with it for sure, and his scenes were usually very fun. But yeah, the fighting scenes were kind of terrible because again, once again, as they're attacking each other, it goes into slow mo, and then there's this sort of weird, like aura, I guess. I don't know, around Morbius whenever like he's doing something like vampiric or whatever, and it looks really really gimmicky, really hokey, out of date. It does nothing for it. Just looks like bad CGI again, which is unfortunate. So anyway, after that, you get the two cops. He's going to leave the building, and two cops come and question him. And who are these two cops? They are uh, Tyrese Gibson from Fast and the Furious fame, and Al Madrigal. So what have we got here? What is he in? Oh, The Daily Show. So we have essentially two comedians and actors playing the dead serious like FBI agent people, and that's just a little weird. It was really bizarre seeing him in that role, and I wasn't entirely sure what to think of it. It was hokey. Oh my gosh. So anyway, after the boat, after the murdered nurse, they come and he then attacks, trying to escape, and goes up the seat, and then an officer immediately just begins unloading on him, I mean, I guess that's for par in America because, good grief, our cop department's terrible. But anyway, um, and then for some weird reason, like on the roof, he's on the roof and like there's wind or something, and it just feels like it's pulling him. And then uh, Tyrese comes. He's known as Simon Stroud. So Simon comes. He and he's just like points his gun. He's just like enough. And this is someone who's dodging bullets as he's going up. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wanted to be captured, but yeah, it just seemed really, really bad. It made no sense. The context was bad. So now he's in jail. Uh, his best friend, aka his brother, Lucian comes in, Milo, whatever. Um, trying to talk to him, gives him some blood, talks to him for a bit, gives him some real blood, and then leaves his cane, and that's how he knew that. Oh my gosh, he got something. He's now a vampire, and then he admits to killing a bunch of people. He does kill a few people, and wants Morbius to embrace his powers as he had, and then he attacks him. Like again, this is it's just a sudden shift. There's so much sudden shift to two people who clearly care about each other. Uh, I mean, but you don't see that again, and so you're just like, how close are these two? Were they that close to begin with? And the movie wants you to believe they are, but then he makes this sudden shift from like to maybe this slightly selfish guy, but who is clearly charming and isn't, a bad guy, into a complete villain. And it's ugh. Because I mean, in the comics, Morbius is sort of an anti-hero. He's kind of like Venom. He does his own thing. It's always looking out for himself, and whoever villain or hero, whoever that helps him the most, he'll go with, and that's sort of Morbius is. This one, no, he's all hero. So, and that's just kind of, which is weird because they play this, and then I'll get into the stingers in a bit. But yeah, he fix my headset there for a sec. So yeah, he escapes. He goes to stop Milo, and then Milo he kills. Yeah, he kills his surrogate father. He kills Nichols, Doctor Nichols. I always forget that. Um, and it's just like, why? Like, did he inject himself twice? Did he take both the vials? Like, what? What is this up with this switch? And it's terrible. So yeah, it's supposed to be super sad, and I do tear up in motion in scenes like that in Marvel movies, in other movies as well. I will admit that, and I have on these reviews. That you didn't feel that here. I just didn't feel anything because again, so much stuff is told rather than shown, off screen, and you just have to assume it, and it just doesn't work. And then, like, apparently he kills Nicholas's because he always favored Morbius, and it's just like, how? Yeah, so he paid for his education, and then he did a lot of stuff for himself. He is literally taking care of you, and your life is really not that bad. And it never what, like, I don't know. Bad writing. Stop it. Oh my god. So yeah, he then goes and attacks Martine, makes, and he hears them talking the whole time, and he makes her call out his name, and then he does something that like causes her to die. Uh, and yeah, that he goes, and it looks like she bites him and takes his blood, and then like you sort of hear her heartbeat sort of start until it stops, and then you go into the final battle. And the final battle is just like, oh my god, again. There's a point where they're in an office building, they jump out, and you're just so lost because all you see is just debris, glass, and then they hit apparently the ground, and you're again, all you're just seeing is debris, and you don't know what's going on. You can't see that well. And then they go into, I guess, what is this like old abandoned like subway tunnel or sewage tunnel? I'm not entirely sure. Um, and it looks like Milo has the upper hand, but then Morbius like sends out this call. A whole bunch of bats come. And I will say there is a bat Hadouken in this movie, and that was probably the greatest piece of action that this movie had to offer. And after that, it was just like again so much slow mo, and it's just it looks so bad with the CGI, and ugh. But yeah, then the bats they hold him down, and he stabs him, and that's it. And then it goes to Martine again. She opens her eyes. It's just like, did he inject her? Was that again off screen while Morbius is coming to find her? Uh, should she drink his blood? Or what? Like, there's so much guesstimation in this movie that it just there's no stakes. It doesn't feel like there's any real tension, and again, the pacing's so bad. There's no bonds. Like the bonds don't seem real. They seem forced, and they kind of have to tell you that these bonds exist, which is really bad for stories. You don't want to tell. You want to show, and they just didn't do a good job of that, and it was bad. So anyway, and then that's where we go into the two stingers. So Michael Keaton, who was in No Way Home, I believe, as Adrian Toomes, the Vulture. No, it was Homecoming. Yeah, Homecoming. There we go. That's where he was first introduced. Anyway, he gets, it shows the sort of the breaking of the multiverse, the sort of blending, the opening thing that you saw in Spider-Man No Way Home. Uh, Only it looked way worse. It looked bad. Uh, and then so he's in jail, and he's just like, huh, hope they have better food in here. And yeah, he's in jail, and he just teleports there. And then next thing you know, there's a newscast, and they're letting him go because he just showed up. He's not supposed to be there. Um, So yeah, that's the first stinger, sort of establishing the connection with the multiverse again, and it's just like, all right. And then the second one is Morbius. He's on the run. He's a fugitive. Again, the whole timing of, fake blood, red blood, whatever blood, that just seems to have gone out the window. It's barely mentioned. And he meets the Vulture, where he got his suit. Who knows? He showed up as he was locked up because he's in a prison suit, so he's locked up in the Disney Marvel verse, and he's still locked in jail. And so again, where the heck does he get his suit? Is there a Stark in this universe? I don't know. Again, there's so much assumption. It's like, how does he get his his costume? Good question. I don't know. But anyway, that's that. They're gonna band up, so it's gonna be some sort of like, yeah, bad guy grouping, which again, like, and I was saying this toward the beginning of the spoilers, like, makes very little sense for Morbius because he played the hero the whole time. Anyway, uh, that's all I can say for this. It just, this movie kind of made me mad with how inconsistent it was, how bad it was, everything. Anyway, I can't say I'm excited. I know that there's going to be more follow-ups. I mean, I've already read that this whole universe exists and it shouldn't, but whatever. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't waste your money on this. Um, Watch it while streaming, and only if you want to, because like I said, it's not part of the main Disney Marvel. It's part of Sony's Marvel, and that's really bad. But anyway, I will catch you guys next time. See ya.